Leaders of Volunteers. I'm your host, Dane Litwin, and today in this first week of January, talking about setting up your production, planning, program calendars, and timelines for the rest of the year, or even for the next few months or quarter, however you divide up the seasons of volunteer engagement and services. And our job as leaders of volunteers is really complex and difficult as it is. So the more we can just invest in ourselves and our team and our departments by planning these things ahead of time and sharing these project timelines and calendars with other departments that are interacting with your volunteers and they're supporting each other's work, that's really going to help us down the line when we get into a super duper busy season, as is typical around spring or budget times or getting into summer months or following the school year or whatever that pattern of busyness looks like for your organization and your mission. So some of the project management ideas or types of charts that I mentioned, you probably are already using. Maybe you know that it's a Gantt chart. Maybe you've never heard that term before. This video is kind of for everybody on that spectrum. And, a lot of us are using Excel spreadsheets. That's fine. And some are using, G Drive, G Suite, Google Calendar, Google Forms, Google Sheets, things like that. All of that works. All of that is the same type of tool. And then there are other types of software that are project management that typically use something called a Gantt chart, G-A-N-T-T, and you'll see an example right up here. And a Gantt chart, named after the guy that invented it about 150 years ago, is a visualization that helps in scheduling, managing, and monitoring specific tasks and resources and timelines on a project. And it typically is, like you can see in this example, color-coded lines. Sometimes it's horizontal, sometimes it's vertical, but it's a data visualization of everybody's role, accountability, timeline, deadlines, milestones, things like that. So again, you might already be using tables like this and you've never heard the word Gantt before, or you might be working with software like Mondays or Asana or Basecamp or GitHub or Salesforce or something like that in a CRM or project management software that is already doing that, and a lot of that is automated, but you can be as low-tech or high-tech with G Suite to Gantt charts and beyond as you want to be. But I find this to be an incredibly helpful planning tool so that everybody on your team, in other departments, throughout the agency, or even sometimes sharing these timelines with partner agencies out in the rest of the community, is extremely helpful for keeping everybody on track. And if you hit a bump in the road or someone can't complete something on time, they can enter it into the shared Gantt chart, project management, calendar, shared Google Calendar, something like that, so that everyone's aware of the progress all the time. It's really most widely used. A Gantt chart is specifically for project management. It's used in tech, it's used in business, and I think it should be used way more for volunteer services and tracking our programs and volunteer activities. And you can even use it to do, as I do, a media production timeline. So really, it's just a great visual tool to adapt however you see fit for your program. And it's really used in a lot of industries. So if you're working with an agency that is different than your mission, or you're working with a corporation, they're probably going to recognize this type of Gantt chart data visualization, whether it's officially in a Gantt chart in project management software, or if it's in a shared Excel sheet or a shared Google sheet or something like that that doesn't cost any extra money. Now, most volunteer management software, VMS systems, they usually have pretty good scheduling capabilities or apps, but most of them probably don't have this kind of Gantt chart or data visualization project management. I don't think we're quite there yet. I hope that VMS companies maybe take this suggestion and start to incorporate that. But this software is probably in use somewhere else in the agency, so check with like the IT department or project management or ops and see if you can piggyback onto the same program if your department isn't firewalled in a whole different system. But again, you can just create these pretty easily with a few hours of planning or a couple of meetings with your team members or other department to see, this is our approximate timeline, and then you can make adjustments to it as you need to. If, again, stuff happens, things change, but I find this to be a really helpful and flexible tool for leaders of volunteers, volunteer services, and really any kind of project management that you might be doing in your work. So I hope, as always, that you enjoy these weekly Tuesday tips, and I'm always looking for ideas for new topics. So check out the list of Tuesday tips that I have. There's about 140 something videos on the channel right now, and let me know if you have new ideas. And I also love to feature guests sharing their tips and their priceless advice, so feel free to get in touch with me anytime, and have a great rest of the week.